Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your eternal hosts.
I am John.
And I'm CC, and when there's just too much cool anime to watch, we've got you covered. Screw it. The year's almost over, so I'm gonna wing it this time.
Alright.
Alright, so yeah, year's almost over, so you know what that means. We're gonna do our season finale. So we got one more review for you, and that is the story of an orb, I guess, of an artificial being becoming human and learning a bunch of things about humanity, good and bad. Lots of bad. Lots of bad.
Yes, I guess you could say we are pondering an orb.
God damn it. Anyway.
Listen, it's still a fresh meme.
Yes, A Tale of Souls and Swords, eternally retold. Anyway. And of course, we also have some quick reviews lined up for you, which will happen momentarily. So get your fireworks ready, so you can blow this messy year to Kingdom Come. And definitely don't pause the pod. We'll be right back.
Alright, so before we get to the real meat and potatoes, I guess we'll do a few quick fire reviews, and we're both recording this time, so we don't have to go too crazy with it. I guess I'll start, and the first one I want to talk about is Girlfriend. I can't believe I watched this show beginning to end.
Wow.
But I did.
Good job. I didn't hate this show. It was just the absurdity of honestly trying to date two people at once was like, this man was living his harem dream. He just said, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Screw it. And he did. And somehow it works out. It's weird to say that this show was also kind of oddly wholesome in the fact that it embraced certain things about, hey, if there's things about a person that you love, then you should just hold on to those feelings. And when I don't know, it was weird because for every weird, goofy thing that happened, there's another that was kind of like, oh, that's weirdly kind of nice. Mm-hmm. I think I neglected to mention when we first talked about the show that it was the original comic was written by the same guy who made Aho Girl, so it's got very much that same energy to it. I don't think it's absolutely worth watching unless you want to turn yourself into a smooth brain like I definitely did. Well, I mean, it's a good thing to do after winding down from work or stuff like that, so I mean, come on.
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't outwardly hate any of the characters either. They're all likable for different reasons. So
that's important, right? I mean,
yes.
You want to stick with it, or if you want to stick with it, you need something to latch onto. And I mean, for this, it was of course the comedy, but also if all the characters are assholes, and that's not the point of the comedy. Looking at another show that's going to come up very shortly, but if the characters are supposed to be sympathetic and you're supposed to relate them with them. It's good that it worked in this show.
Yeah. So I don't think this is a bad show. I just don't think it's really worth watching. Okay. Unless again you want to rot your brain for 12 episodes like I did. Hey. Mm-hmm. After that was another show that I really don't know why I finished watching. That was The Detective Is Already Dead.
Yes, you weren't too hot on that when we talked about it in a sneak peek, so I'm actually surprised that you finished it.
So the whole angle of that one girl having the main girl's heart went in a weird direction because it turned out it was also the heart of another character, and maybe So this show tried to be a detective story and a rom-com, and it really couldn't do either very well.
Ah, that's a shame.
Yeah, and I got to the end of it, and I was like, all right, okay. And that was like the beginning, middle, and end of my thought. Like, it didn't really feel substantive at all at any point, and I question why I watched it all the way through, but sometimes you're just curious about stuff, and,
I mean,
It is.
there had to be something for you to stick with it. So I guess it at least wasn't boring.
I don't know if I'd say it was boring or not, but it just didn't. I thought there would be more to the story than there was.
Okay. All right.
I think that's the best way of saying it. Like the main girl, Siesta, is supposed to be like this super sleuth, but she's already figured out the mystery before everybody else has walked into the room. So it's like, where's the mystery? And I guess maybe she was an android or something. It's not clear. It's not clear at all. The production values were there. That was pretty much it. Oh,
Yeah, that's something. I mean,
yeah.
there's some shows that try too much stuff and then only one thing works. I guess Inspector would also fit in that thing where it's like, yeah, I like parts of the show, but the investigation stuff and everything didn't work out, and the storytelling, the romance was fine, I guess. And sometimes the show doesn't do either thing particularly well. So in that case, I would have probably jumped ship. But if there was something that kept you holding on, that's fine.
I mean, mysteries are so hard to write anyway. And
That's
I
true.
mean, as much as I enjoyed Lord El Malloy, I agree with you that boy, the mysteries weren't.
Mm-mm.
So,
Watch
so,
out for
so
that second season that's coming. Or is it a movie? I don't remember.
it
Something
I
is
think
coming.
it's just a New Year's special, like a
Oh, right.
one-off.
Okay. Well,
So, as much as I loved the continuing misadventures of One Waver Velvet, I agree with you, it did have problems. And so did the Detectives Have Already Dead, except the latter definitely magnified its problems a lot more because it was just not worth it.
okay. That's a shame.
It had cute girls and that was it.
Sometimes that's enough, but
I
if there
mean,
is
yeah,
another season, you know that you won't pick it up probably.
yeah, probably not.
Mhm.
So, did you have one for us before I continue?
Yes, I of course had that time I got reincarnated as a slime season 3. I mean, I did full reviews for season 1 and season 2, and I feel like the review of the second season was already mainly, hey, here's the plot. And that's it. And I kind of want to refrain from doing these kind of reviews anymore for second season stuff. So I feel like, hey, this belongs in a quick review thing. And season 3 is basically that again, which is not really to the show's detriment. Quite the contrary. It moves forward at a very brisk pace. There's some very neat moments for all of our characters. There's some cool standout fights. I think I showed you one or two of them.
Mm.
There's this fun fight at pretty much at the end of the season. So the setup is basically that Rimuru and his gang, after surviving the onslaught instigated by Clayman in the second season on their city, and Rimuru ascending to Demon Lord and reviving all his friends and minions and whatever. Basically, he and his posse go and try to infiltrate the Demon Lord's. What is it called? It's the big Demon Lord meeting, Valpurgis, and they want to use that to take down Clayman. And that's what they do. Like, Rimuru makes a plan, and everything is set into motion, and there's some wrenches thrown into the gears and shit like that, of course, so to keep it interesting and fresh. But mostly, just like in the other seasons, stuff pans out this time around, and thus, the season overall is a bit more lighthearted than the previous one. The previous one felt a lot more dark because so many of beloved characters died. And yeah, this time around, it's mostly just like, hey, here, Clayman thinks he got the upper hand, and Rimuru beats the shit out of him. So that's fine. And, some Veldora, his dragon friend, got a human body and is helping him out and throwing some Kamehamehas and Hadokens around, actually naming them that.
I still couldn't believe you showed me that, and he said Kamehameha.
Yes.
I was like, is that a problem?
I think he does a Shoryuken as well. I'm not sure. The thing is, that's the running gag. Rimuru, since he can't replicate anything he has touched or knows from his previous life or anything, he just throws manga and video games at all the fantasy people in this new world, and they just get consumed by it and can't stop reading it.
Jesus Christ!
And it's like, hey, oh shit, Veldora just read all of Dragon Ball, and that's why it's like fucking those around Kamehamehas in that final battle against, Milim, who we think at some point is mind controlled by Clayman, but it's all a big play, and she's only fucking around and stuff like that. So, this season, like I said, is a lot more lighthearted, and just some good fights, good action, some enjoyable new characters and stuff like that. We meet all the demon lords, and some of them are really fun, and looking forward to spending more time with them. But yeah, then we learned that Clayman was only, as I had suspected, only a small underling. Basically, he's not the main honcho. He was just presenting himself as that, as is normal with shonen stuff, I guess, which I would kind of count this too, even though it's an isekai thing, mainly. And some unexpected character turns here and there. And yeah, it's a very enjoyable fantasy action show with some neat comedy bits here and there. And yeah, it's probably the one isekai show I enjoyed on a consistent basis the most in the previous years. So yeah, that continues with the third season. I think it's great. Can't really say much more about it because there's not that much deep characterization going on or anything. It's just a brisk action fantasy plot with some politics mixed in, which is always good in this show, where it's like, hey, how does Rimuru have to convince other kingdoms to join forces with him and, have some diplomacy stuff and everything. So yeah, it's cool. And this was a lot more action focused this time around, but a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the fourth season whenever that is coming. Probably, again, only going to do a quick review on that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's a good show. It's a really good show. So if you're in the mood for some fantasy action stuff, you can't really do anything wrong by watching that time I got reincarnated as a slime, so I highly recommend it. Still, John, what is your next quick review?
Life Lessons with Uramichi-Oniisan.
Yes, I also partially watched that, but I didn't finish it.
Boy, this show, I feel really called out in certain episodes of this show. I don't know about you.
Sure, yes. I mean, in certain parts, Uramichi is kind of my spirit animal, but I don't know. I don't know if it was that kept me from watching the show from beginning to end, where I'm like, yeah, I know the feeling this show is trying to convey, and I have it in my daily life. So
it's the same energy as saying I'm in this picture and I don't like it.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, it was funny when it fully leaned into the edge. I mean, edge is the wrong word, I guess. But when it went to his existence is shitty and, he hates part of it. Some really cool off-kilter jokes with some of the characters. When it really went into the nihilism and everything, I enjoyed it a lot. But some of the jokes presentation and so on wasn't really my cup of tea. There was this one thing where there was a skit, with the children and everything, and the children commented on everything that Uramichi did or that some of the other characters did. And the joke was already there. Like, you saw what the characters were doing, and it was already funny, because it was weird and it was dumb and everything. And then the children commented on it and basically emphasizing the stupid bits, which made them less funny. It's like, if you have to point that out, if you have to put an exclamation mark on this and don't let the joke speak for itself, the visual gags and everything, then it's not as funny. And the show did that constantly. And I was like,
I get what you mean, but I wonder if the point of it is that everybody is saying the quiet part loud.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's the point, but I didn't like that. That's all I'm saying.
Where it's like, just let it pass. It's all in your head. Just don't say anything, and nobody will say anything about it. Just kidding. Everybody will say everything about it because this is that kind of show.
Yes, but it's like, yeah, sure, I get it, and some people might respond more well to that, but I feel like the jokes would have just hit a bit harder and would have been a bit more funnier if they just would have let them sit with us as the audience and not let the other audience comment on it constantly.
Yeah,
it's just that kind of, joke structure, kind of joke writing just doesn't work for me as well. One Piece does that a lot as well, where it's like, hey, there's some character doing a funny shit, and then characters jump into the screen and comment on it with no, that's not the case. Oh my God, what are you doing? Like, no, just let the character do that joke because it works better that way instead of you just doing a loud expressive thing and overreacting, which the kids didn't do. They just calmly commentated on it. So it's a different thing, but it's still, commentary. And I don't know, that just didn't work for me. But I guess it worked better for you?
I guess a little bit. I mean, everything about this show is just like, boy, life just sucks. The daily grind is shitty and whatnot. But I mean, there were moments throughout the show where I was like, hey, where the characters were kind of like, hey, maybe not everything is so bad. Maybe we can make things better. So it kind of walked the other side of the line a little bit, but not too much so as to, be like, for it to feel jarring. Because there's a couple episodes where they film a summer-themed music video in the dead of winter.
I remember that episode, yes.
And then later on, they film a winter-themed music video in just the blistering summer heat.
Of course.
And eventually one of the characters goes to the director, it's like, all right, this needs to stop. And the director, like, eventually relents and is like, oh, okay, all right, okay.
Okay, that's good, because I was getting pissed off by that guy. I mean, that's the point. He's he's not even phoning it in. It's the opposite. It's like putting his fucking people through the ringer. He's an asshole.
Because they watch back one of the music videos and everyone is sort of very sheepishly like, yeah, this is really good. And then one of the characters is like, what are you talking about? This is terrible. And the director's like, oh my God, you're right.
Well, that's good.
Oh my, what are you doing? Re-edit this video. Why did you make it so bad? It's like, ooh.
Yes, amazing.
So good. The turnaround on that one character in particular is really good because we find out, yeah, he's kind of an asshole, but he's got a good heart. So
okay, he just doesn't know what the fuck he's doing apparently.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, if you want a healthy dose of your super strong nihilism, oh my God,
with a few silver linings,
with a few,
just just a small taste, but
yeah.
Mostly what you said, yes.
That show will have your back for that sort of thing. I guess the last quick and dead I got is Love Live Superstar, because of course I'm going to watch Love Live.
Of course. Nobody doubted this. Nobody.
So I kind of liked a lot that this show had a smaller cast, because I feel like we got to know all 5 of the girls a lot better than the past shows were like, hey, there's 9 characters. Hope you enjoy getting to know them over 2 seasons instead of 1. No, I feel like we got to know all 5 girls pretty decently well over the course of this one season. And of course, there's a second season coming because they teased it super hard in the last episode. But it's apparent that the last one, Nijigaku, was definitely made by the B team. And not that it was bad. But this was definitely the A team, because it definitely had the higher production values of the original and Sunshine. And it had, like I said, because it had less characters, it had more time to breathe, which I'm thankful for. And I don't know if there's a bad girl in the bunch. I kind of love them all equally. I kind of feel like Kanon is my spirit animal, because she was super into singing and doing music and whatnot. And a lot of the show is her trying to get out of her own head and back into doing what she used to love. And I like that a lot. I think it gives this show a strong, like, emotional anchor for it, especially for her.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And all of the other characters have pretty good motivations too. Like Sumire is kind of a legend in her own mind. She was a background character in a TV show once, and that means she's a big Hollywood star. So she's kind of trying to chase that greatness, and she finally has a moment to take center stage, and it hits really hard. Cuckoo is doing her best to become, because she wants to just become a school idol. She's enraptured by the whimsy, the mysticism about it. And we find out that unless she's able to do it, the best she possibly can, like get the highest rank at the Love Live competition, she's got to move back home to China because her family isn't super keen about it. Find out that Ren, she hates school idols, but we find out that her mother was one, and the school that she goes to, or that they all go to, used to belong to her family. So she's trying to have the school stand on its own without the need for, the pageantry of idols. And that has a really strong emotional climax to it that I just it's probably one of the best that they've had in the franchise so far.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, and then there was Chisato, who she's trying to do her best to become a big name dancer, and she has her big break. But when she sees Kanon still struggling with her own internal troubles, she comes back to the group and says, "Hey, I'm gonna do my best to help you all out." And it's just, Love Live is a good story about girls uplifting other girls, and it has great emotional beats. And I don't know, this one was really good. Like, I I still think Sunshine is my favorite, but there's another season of this coming, so it still has a chance to surprise in other ways. I liked it.
Oh,
I think
maybe
it's worth watching.
it will reclaim the top spot yet. We'll see.
Maybe we've yet to see. I don't know when the second is supposed to be coming, but they, like I said before, they kind of did a weird breakup where they did the first season of Nijigaku, then they did the first season of this, and there's still second seasons of both shows coming.
Yeah, I mean, if they were popular enough, why not?
I mean, the Love Live machine is an ever-turning mechanism that will never stop. So
yes, I mean, I guess it's the idol genre in general.
It's weird because it wasn't one of the first to do it, but Love Live has a lot more mainstream popularity, especially in the West, than the Idol Master ever had. And I mean, I guess you can thank Bandai Namco for that, but
yes, I assume Love Live is more accessible via streaming over here, isn't it?
By streaming by the 2 or 3 mobile games it has.
Okay.
And
nothing for the Idol Master of that over here.
I think I talked about how you could watch the Idol Master on Crunchyroll, and then Aniplex pulled it, and who knows if it's ever coming back. There was a port of the PSP games that was released on iOS, but they charged like $55 for each one, and it's no wonder they pulled it from the App Store and they didn't sell. So my first Idol love will probably never flourish in the West, but hey, Love Live is pretty good too, and if y'all want something like that, it's worth watching.
And hey, if by way of this machinery we get another season of Zombieland Saga, that's fine with me.
Well, there's the movie coming.
Yeah, that's true, right. I wonder if it will pick up where the second season left off, or if it's gonna be some spin-off-y thing.
I would hope so.
What, that it's a spin-off-y thing?
No, that it would continue where it left off.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, if we had Saga Pendants Day, and what's going to happen next?
Listen, if it's a movie, then maybe we get fully 2D animated thing for once. That would be great. We'll see. Wouldn't mind that at all. All right.
Well,
yeah.
It is what it is. But yeah, I think that's everything for the Quick and the Dead. It wasn't as quick as usual, but
What do you mean as usual? It wasn't as quick as last time where we had to fucking re-record. But yeah, I think we worked it out, and now it's time to move over to our final review for this anime season.
In the beginning, an orb is cast unto Earth. It can do 2 things. Change the form of the thing that stimulates it and come back to life after death. It morphs from orb to rock, then to wolf, and finally to boy, but roams around like a newborn who knows nothing. As a boy, it becomes Fushi. Through encounters with human kindness, Fushi not only gains survival skills, but grows as a person. But his journey is darkened by the inexplicable and destructive enemies known as the Knockers, as well as cruel partings with the people he loves. Fushi continues his eternal quest, bearing the pain of living with the fortitude of someone who chooses his own path. So, To Your Eternity is the subject for today, based on a manga created by Yoshitoki Oima, also responsible for A Silent Voice, a movie I still haven't watched.
I recommend you reading the manga instead. The movie is good, especially production-wise. I think it was a Kyoto Animation movie.
That's why I wanted to check it out, because I
always
check out KyoAni.
But, maybe read the manga first, because it skips over some important things that make some moments not as hit as hard as they did in the manga. So, that's all I'm saying. I mean, that's what I heard.
Yeah, that's what I had heard as well, from you and from others.
Yeah, so I haven't watched the movie myself. I've just seen trailers and clips, and it looks fucking gorgeous. But I've read the manga, and considering what I heard they skipped over in the movie, I feel like that were some essential bits. So
I have the Blu-ray somewhere, so
I mean, go for it.
But yeah, maybe I will eventually try to check out the manga. I don't know if I've said this. I've been wanting to read more manga, but I'd been kind of entertaining the idea of getting one of those fancy e-ink tablets to have, the authentic like comic reading experience.
I haven't checked the tablets out, so I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I still have to do a little bit of shopping around and compare and contrast, because those things are not cheap, apparently. But yeah, this show was produced by Brainspace, who we've talked about a couple of times, I believe. You brought them up when we talked about Inspector, I believe.
Yes, I think so.
And they also did stuff like Bakano, Grimm's Notes, Natsume's Book of Friends, which is, I guess that show has been running for a long while.
Yes, I think I tackled the 5th season in one of our sneak peeks, but I wasn't aware that it was the 5th season. I was like, hey, this looks interesting. I was like, no, you should maybe watch the other 4. And I was like, oh, shit, I don't have time for that.
Yeah, I mean, God, what are they up to? Like 5, 6, 7, 8? There's a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, the show is very shockingly pretty, and boy, it hits hard from moment zero. I don't know. What was your take on that first episode? I think it's necessary to stop right there and talk about that.
Yeah. So, in case you haven't cried enough lately, boy, do we have a series for you. Yeah, that counts for the first episode. That counts for all the arcs that come after it, really, which are 3. I think if you want to count the first episode as an arc, which it really isn't, it's just a setup. I think the show has 3 arcs. One with 2 separate timelines, I guess, or not separate timelines. It's like we have a time jump in the middle where some characters age anyway, and then we see them as kind of grown up versions, but they're still the same characters. Aside from that, the characters in this show change. With each new arc, we get a new set of characters. Some stay, Fushi being the one, and the other one being Pyoran, which is an old woman. Fushi, the orb, then human, meets later on. And aside from that, the characters constantly change. And we have another consistent thing, which is the godly or alienish existence that created Fushi and is hovering around him and explaining stuff to him in regards to the world and trying to make him go into a specific way.
I mean, I guess the official name is the Beholder, but let's throw away the pretense. He's pretty much just God.
Yes, if this show has confirmed anything, then that Kenjiro Tsuda is either God or an alien. I mean, we knew that.
Or a dragon.
But the show kind of confirms that for us. So thank you for your attention.
That's right. We had to cut it because of recording flubs during the last Quick and the Dead. But Kenjiro Tsuda in Dragon Goes House Hunting got to finally fulfill his dream of becoming a dragon. So
Yes.
there you go.
All roads led here.
Yeah. Who knew? One of his earliest roles would start as a dragon-obsessed mega millionaire, and then he would become one himself. Perfect. It's like poetry.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, this show is a roll. Well, I don't know if a roller coaster is the right word. There's a lot of shit happening, and it's going up and down. But yeah, it's this weird mix of a coming of age story, but also kind of like a bit of, hey, here is humanity in all its facets, with its positives and a lot of its negatives, and viewed or shown through us to us through the lens of a being that is kind of living a bit outside of humanity, but also trying to integrate with them and everything, by virtue of being an artificial being, kind of homunculus. Fushi, of course, has some problems fitting in the beginning, especially since, like you said in the intro, he's kind of, after transforming into his human form, he is kind of behaving like a newborn or like an animal. He acts on instinct alone. He can't talk, and he can basically only eat. And revive. He can revive. He can reconstruct himself. Like Wolverine's healing factor has nothing on that guy.
Yeah.
And that leads to some gruesome imagery, let me tell you. Holy shit, this show doesn't pull any punches when it comes to certain gory aspects of Fushi's existence.
Like, one of the first times they show Fushi reconstructing himself, it's like, whoa.
It's kind of gross and scary, but also cool. And
It really helps to drive home, hey, this isn't human.
Yes.
Just in case you forgot.
Yes, but he's trying his best to Darndis to become human. And, in certain aspects, as these stories go, as the story progresses, he becomes maybe more human than other humans. And, that is interesting. And there's there are a lot more interesting aspects to his power set than you might expect from in the beginning. When he, in the beginning, it's just like, hey, he touches a thing, a person, whatever. And when that person, that being dies, he can assume its form. Or with inanimate objects, he basically, pain needs to be involved in a way. So if he gets hurt by a certain thing, he can replicate that thing. And that also accounts for feelings that happen to him by way of other humans and stuff like that. And, it's really interesting. It's really, there are a lot of facets to it. And there are some harrowing moments in the show where it's just like, now he can transform into a certain person, and that makes you realize, oh, that person died. And Fushi being immortal, which is what he is, really, at least to a certain aspect, that's where the giant knockers come into play. He's kind of immortal, and of course the humans he meets are not. So that brings some harrowing scenes, some really emotional moments with it, as you would expect. But they're all pulled off really well. I think that was one of the best things in the show to me. It's not too melodramatic. It, of course, it heightens the drama when certain people die or, get hurt or whatever. And Fushi basically survives them and moves on and everything. Or when he loses memories of certain people or stuff like that. The show gives it its the necessary gravitas, but doesn't linger in it so much that it feels like it's overly cheesy or anything. It's getting the appropriate amount of drama, I feel like. And that's great. And it tells, in general, a big human story with Fushi actually becoming human, understanding slowly what it means to be human, again, in all its different aspects. And then also all the little different human stories on the side with all the side characters. And there are a bunch of them in this show. And, they're interesting, they're funny, they're sad, they're great. I was really engaged with the character stories in the show. I don't know how you felt about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that to go around, and I feel like it's not so much that I didn't like the last big arc of it, 'cause I still enjoyed it, but I felt like the first two
The first two arcs where, we were really establishing things and getting to know those characters in particular. I feel like that was like probably one of the best, strongest parts of the show. Like I really liked Fushi getting to know Gugu and Rin and the old boozy man.
Yeah. That arc particularly was the strongest for me, just in general. Gugu is a fantastic character, and the thing of that arc being that it's two parts, where it's like Gugu and meeting Fushi as a child, trying to be an older brother to him and everything, and then him growing up and actually being an older brother, a big man and everything. The stuff with his face and with Rin and all the things that are happening, and the way it turns out. I loved that arc with Gugu and everyone. And, Fushi basically for the first time in his life. I mean, not the first time. We get the stuff before that with March and with Perona. But it feels like that was really him being part of a family for the first time. And actually him growing that. And a lot of growth happens in that arc. In the first arc, he was mainly still being kind of this animalistic presence. And after that, he learns how to speak, how to write, mostly from Puron, I guess. And so that's great. And I love that arc. The arc that came after that on the prison island was a bit okay. There was some fun characters in there, but the standout moments were, I guess, not necessarily as much the characters as they were in the previous two arcs, but more the action in certain aspects, because there are big old Colosseum fights and the return of a certain character that, we didn't expect to return, and which made me very angry.
What's going to happen with that character in the second season? Holy crap.
It's really interesting that they didn't kill her off, really. I expected
not that we know of.
Well, yeah, she... I get a feeling something might have happened to her that might make her even more of a capable villain. And so far, she has been a fantastic villain, I gotta say. You love to hate her.
Oh, God. Every time she opens her mouth, it's like, I don't want to listen to you.
Yeah,
you're just oozing this like.
Yeah, you're meeting her, thinking, oh, she's this religious fanatic, and then you feel like, no, she's just an opportunist who's trying to using other people for her own gain, and then she continues doing that, and my God, what a piece of shit.
Gets worse and worse.
Yes.
It gets to a point where you think it can't get worse, and it goes a step beyond that.
Yes, every time you think this is as low as that character can stoop, she finds another cliff to jump from, and it's like, Jesus, holy shit, fucking die already, you asshole. But yeah, that's great villain, like I said, fantastic. So I enjoyed her a lot. I enjoyed Fushi a lot. His transformations are great. The different forms he can take after a while, and especially also, which I didn't expect from this show, reading the summary and watching the first episode and everything, this show has some kick-ass fucking fights. Holy shit. It looks really good. I mean, the show in general is just like, there are some episodes that are, I think, more low budget, I guess, and maybe a bit janky, but overall it's a really good looking show, and the standout fights all look fucking fantastic. Like the animation, the choreography, the direction, everything looks really, really great. I did not expect that. Like the fight against the giant knockers are really...
I like that every time, aren't you?
Yes, no. Yeah, they're like these interesting creatures that the creator of Fushi explains at some point what they are and actually what the mission of Fushi is on Earth and everything. And these are interconnected, and I don't want to give that away. But what they can do is rob Fushi of his memories or of the forms he adopted, and also rob him of the memories that he has of these forms. So if it's humans, if it's animals, whatever, he just forgets them once they consume those. And once they've consumed all his forms and all his memories, he's basically dead. He probably will become an orb again. So, if I'm not mistaken, that's what might happen. So, every time a knocker appears, first of all, he needs to be careful not his, forms getting snatched up. And that happens. And also, they don't care if humans get in the way. So, he has to protect them as well. And he has to be, since the knockers are always appear in different forms and are very formidable foes, all in their different way. He has to find very creative strategies to fight them, depending on what they do and where their weaknesses are. It's a bit like JoJo's, I guess, in that regard, because it's, sometimes brawn is enough, when he turns into a giant-ass bear or shit like that. But sometimes that's not enough, and he needs to use his brain and needs to figure out, okay, what can I do to actually beat this giant knocker? And so yeah, sometimes they're not even that giant. But that's what I also like. I like when the fights are not just, hey, here's the guy, and then he punches the other guy, and it's like, no, I need to use tactics and shit like that to beat this foe, and that's what this show does a lot. So yeah, that's super cool. And Fushi uses all of his forms that he gained in those fights, not just one single form that is super strong, but all of his forms have different capabilities. So the fights are pretty varied overall, and I like that. I thought that was really cool. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, the whole strategy aspect of it was probably the most interesting part for me, because sometimes maybe this form can get in a little bit closer and under the radar. Maybe sometimes you need this form to just be a big fat bruiser. So I think it led the fights with the knockers to having to being a bit more dynamic than I was expecting, and I think that's cool. I really appreciate that a lot. But it's an important part of the story, but I feel like the character interactions were a lot more interesting to me.
Yes,
as we went through.
Those are definitely the forte of the show. Absolutely. I mean, I agree with you completely. It's just I wasn't expecting there also to be cool fights.
Right. Well, I mean, Brains Base, we know them to do pretty good work, so...
Yes, sure. But again, it's just like, hey, I expected this to be more of a introspective, quiet show, maybe more on the vein of... I mean, Phoenix also has some action scenes in it, but also being more of, hey, here is humanity with all its flaws and all, its joys and everything. And look at it, and this is what the creator of the manga thinks about it, and we got that definitely with very human, very cool character stories, but also we got some kick-ass fights. Which hey, I'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
You had me at great character writing, but also thank you for the great action and great music. Let's not forget that. The soundtrack of the show is great. It's done by Ryo Kawasaki, who also did the soundtrack for Fate Grand Order and apparently Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens, which, you didn't want to watch, but I don't know if you've listened to the soundtrack. I haven't, but maybe I should.
I mean, I started to watch it, and I mean, the only song that really sticks in my head was the first intro theme, which was, pretty fun song, but I don't know. I said this before, Sevens felt like it's geared to a different age bracket than I am currently in now, which obviously that shouldn't preclude anyone from enjoying something if something they enjoy is for a different demographic. But I was also sort of like, plus it's not licensed, so trying to hunt down subs is like, I don't really enjoy doing that anymore unless it's for reasons which we may get into is a future date again. But I respect that, you're gonna like what you're gonna like, and if Yu-Gi-Oh! 7 has good music, then it's got good music. Like I started to watch Zexal. But that show has fucking amazing music. Conan,
well, there you go,
knocking it out of the park every step of the way, dude.
So does this show, and I really like the soundtrack to this, and overall, all the different aspects of the music, because there are a lot, and of course you got a lot of sad moments, and the music works really well for that. But also you have these great action scenes where the music just kicks fucking ass. And, there's some really, really, really amazing fuck yeah moments in the show where Fushi just goes all out as a wolf or something like that. And I thought that was great. But yeah, like you said, the the most important thing are the character dynamics and the character writing and development and everything, and that's the top shelf thing in this show. It's just great. And it's varied through the virtue of it being 3 or 4 different stories with a different set of characters. And it doesn't feel like any of the different arcs are either too short or too long. Like they don't overstay their welcome, but also you feel like every character or most of the characters got enough screen time in each arc for them to make them feel like complete characters. So it's great. I think one of my highlights is probably Pioran in this show, because she's like, she kind of feels like, oh, this is like a side character, maybe reoccurring, but not that important. But she becomes a very pivotal character in this show, where it's just like, hey, Fushi kind of meets her by accident, and then she kind of tags along and brings him across to the old man and stuff like that, where they stay for a while. But she also, teaches him a lot about humanity. And then by the end of the show, we get like a really great emotional moment with her and everything. And it felt so fucking earned, because we spent so much time with that character up to that point, even though she was really only one of the side characters. And it's also what I didn't expect from the show, that it's really like also tackling some really heavy topics like dementia and stuff like that, and doing it in a really well done way, where it's not, that can get really, I don't know, I don't want to say cliche, but if mishandled, that can go really wrong. And I think the show just fucking nailed it. Like, made you really, really feel the despair one of the characters feels when confronted with this kind of issue. And it's just, man, I did not expect that from this show, and I got it. And I love being surprised in that way, even though it just fucking tears out your heart. But the show is really good at that, just in general. Like, like I said, hey, if you still have some tears left, that show is just gonna fucking
God, this show
pull them out of you.
This show started airing at the same time as the final season of Fruits Basket, and watching both shows at the same time was like,
that's a double whammy, yeah.
But both shows are great, so
absolutely, yes.
If you're not done crying with one show, you can go and cry at the other.
Yes, and both for the right reason. Like, Fruits Basket has fantastic character drama and character writing, and so does To Your Eternity. I feel like there's a bit more action in To Your Eternity as well. Not so much in Fruits Basket. That's just mostly dialogue, and I feel like To Your Eternity is a bit more. I don't want to call it somber or anything. It feels a bit more road trippy, I guess, than Fruits Basket does, and because it's changing locations a lot and characters a lot. And in Fruits Basket, we have our core characters all the time, and that's not the case with To Your Eternity. So our constant in this first season is Fushi, and to an extent Pioran, I would say. But aside from that, a lot of changing stuff. And like I said, we see a bunch of different facets of a bunch of different aspects of humanity through the lens of Fushi. And who is kind of, you think, might be like this neutral person in the beginning, or this neutral entity, just because he isn't human. But he very quickly makes up his own opinions about the world and about the people. And he has a very strong moral compass. And yeah, that's cool. And also, of course, he learns that through the people he hangs out with. There are a bunch of good people he learns to care about, learns to love. And yeah, it's very important. And that's also, of course, an important message. And yeah, the show is full of that. It's really good.
I wonder how wildly different of a show this would be if the character we were talking about earlier, if she had found him first.
Oh God, I don't even want to know.
The story would be very different.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think it would be interesting to explore that, but I kind of like what they did with the story in this so far.
And I feel like that character is probably going to bring some more interesting aspects to the story progressing forward, moving forward. And we'll see. I mean, the second season has been confirmed, which is really good. I'm looking forward to that. And I feel like we're gonna get more of that. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing more of where the plot actually goes, because most of the first season has been Fushi figuring himself out. He doesn't really want to do what his creator says. He doesn't feel like he wants to do the mission that he apparently is designed for, or he doesn't really understand it. And I feel like that has changed a bit by the end of this season. So maybe we'll see he's more willing to do that now in the second season. But I can't be sure. Depends on who he meets next, I guess. And yeah, we'll see. I'm really interested to see if we will maybe run into some characters again that Fushi met earlier in his life and that were kids or stuff like that. And then he runs into them later on, when there are adult grown-ups or old, very old people maybe, and then and he's still the same because he doesn't age.
I mean, they left us on a weird note at the end, though. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I wonder about that.
Yes, you're right. That's true. That kind of makes it seem like maybe there's another wrinkle to his existence, which is interesting, super interesting. When I saw that, I was like, oh, I didn't expect that. Interesting. We see where this goes, because so far I feel like that wouldn't be something that would happen in this show. So yeah, we'll see. Very interesting. And yeah, I can't really say anything negative about the show. Like I said, sometimes the production values tank a bit, but not that much that it becomes really problematic. Like, we get shitty CG crowd in the Colosseum in the third arc, which...
Well, that's probably easier to produce.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I see the reason why they did it. It's just like, that doesn't look good. But again, it's not so distracting that it ruins the show or anything. It's just like, okay, well, we needed to save some money or shit like that. That's fine. But every time it counts, the show does everything really well and puts the work in. And yeah, it's good on Brainspace. They did a really good job on this. And I think this is a show really for everyone. Again, unless you really need your, I don't know, balls to the walls, insane action fest and can't watch anything else. But if you want good character writing, if you want great drama, if you want cool fantasy shit, if you want good action, aside from that, you will have that in the show as well. And if you don't mind crying once in a while, then
if you don't mind crying right out the gate,
yeah, exactly, then you will probably enjoy this show. This is just I problem again with this show, and since this is first season review, I already feel like we spoiled already too much in regards to certain characters, maybe. But
I think we talked around enough of it.
Yeah, we're trying to be vague, at least in some aspect. But, going too deep into character stories also means spoiling certain aspects, maybe.
Right.
Let's just say there are a bunch of different cool characters. There's a little girl called March that Fushi meets in the first first arc, after the setup episode, after he meets the boy that he turns into. And then he meets her. She kind of becomes like his surrogate mom, which is kind of cute, and her protector, Parona, and he hangs out with them for a while. And in the next arc, it's like we said, Gugu and Arene and everything, and the old man and Puron, and they have this really cool dynamic. And then in the third arc, he ends up on a prison island that has like this very, I don't know, anarchy-driven style of life where everyone is allowed to kill everyone, and there's no punishment for that, really. But it's not only prisoners, but also their kids on this island, and it's a really fucked up system with a battle in the Colosseum, and whoever wins that battle becomes the next ruler of the island. And it's basically people slowly using their humanity on this island and everything. So the show really goes some really dark places, but always tries to keep its human core alive and everything. So it's really interesting and cool and heartfelt and, yeah, very sad at a lot of points in the show. But yeah, I enjoyed pretty much every second of it. I thought it was a really well-told story. I don't know how much of the manga it covered up to this point and how much is left and how many seasons we might get out of this. But I'm glad that we at least get a second season.
So it looks like this covered about 54 chapters, and at current, there are 153. So we're about a third of the way through what is current content, as it were.
Okay. So it's still running, right?
Looks like it, yeah. Oh, actually, it looks like 153 is not out yet. Never mind. It looks like the current published chapter is 151.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll see where how it goes. Maybe it's on the verge of wrapping up, and that's why they started producing the anime. We'll see. But yeah, that means we got at least another 2 seasons out of this, and if enough people watch it, which I urge you to do, like I said, it's some cool shit. It's a really, really enjoyable show, and really emotional, and really well told. Great character development, great character writing. Can't really say anything more. One more thing that I just jumps out at me. I just see that in my show notes. There was this one aspect to Fushi that I really liked that I don't think I've seen in any other anime really, where it didn't feel forced or shit like that. He is, even at the end of the show, he's still stuttering sometimes.
Yeah.
Which shows that he's still kind of figuring out speech, and also is still not maybe that comfortable with his existence and everything. And it was like this really neat quirk to his character that I haven't really seen in any other anime, I think. So just wanted to point that out.
Yeah,
because
it definitely made him feel more human than you would expect.
Yeah, and it's not super emphasized or anything.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know, one or two words in any episode or stuff like that. And
I just kind of started to, be like, okay, all right, after a bit. So, it was a good way to work it in there.
Yes, exactly. Really cool and well acted and everything. And yeah, I thought that was a neat little quirk. Yeah, so those are my 2 cents onto your turn. What are yours, John? Your final ones?
I thought this show was great. I really liked seeing Fushi change and in certain situations grow up, which he's kind of constantly doing throughout the show, but in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the characters, there's always, it feels like there's a point to him meeting all these characters. No one ever really feels like they're just there to be there. Although, it's still, going back to earlier, my favorite was still with Gugu and Reen and the old man. That was probably the strongest part of the show for me. But I really thought, I went into this show, that first episode, I was a mess.
Understandable.
I still feel like I was a little bit of a mess at certain points after that, but I think that's a testament to this show's writing and its execution. It was really good. It's worth checking out.
Yes, absolutely. So please do that. John, where can people watch the show?
You can watch it on Crunchyroll or Verve, on HBO Max, apparently. And depending on where you live, it is also available on Netflix and Hulu. So it's pretty accessible. Go check it out.
Yes, you got enough. You got enough services that you are probably maybe already subscribed to check out this anime. So please do that. I think there's enough for you to latch onto, and I thought it was a well-paced and very engaging show, and definitely one of the highlights of the season. And speaking of that, there is still one little thing we have to do. Best of the season. All right, yeah, best of the season, of course. So, John, I feel like I have 2 clear contenders for my best of the season award this time around. How do things look for you?
There's 3 that I'm kind of looking at that I really enjoyed. Spoiler alert, one of them isn't Hero Aka. Haha.
Yeah, same for me. I liked it more than you did. It was neat once it got going, which took way too long though. And when it did, it moved too fast. So in retrospect, like I said, again, I should have given the best of the season award to My Hero Academia season 3 because it would have deserved it for that season, but
that was definitely the show at its peak, and most of 2 as well.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. But I think 3 had just had the most high points. Had I known what I know now, I would have just given it as a precautionary measure. But yeah,
Well,
well,
it's like the song says, live and learn.
yes, exactly. The song, the classic,
The classic by Crush 40 and June Senaway.
for the ages. Anyway, BioLizards everywhere. Of Sonic references per episode. Anyway, yeah, it's not My Hero Academia Season 5, that's for sure. Sunny Boy, for me, crumbled a bit under its own ambition, in the sense that I'm not exactly sure what the show is trying to say as its final exclamation point, which made me disengage from it a bit during parts of its runtime. I overall loved the visuals and everything, and how creative it was, how downright expressionist it got at certain points. So I think the show has a lot of positives to it. It's just like, emotionally, there were not that many moments where I was fully engaged into the show. So it's just like, okay, yeah, great show. Thank you, Shingo Natsume, for this, and I'm glad that you got to basically do what you want, because God knows you deserved it for the other stuff you did. It's just, I like some of your other projects more. So that's fine. But yeah, if you're into artsy stuff, if you are into, mystery, a bit cryptic, maybe a bit more philosophical stuff, then maybe you should check out Sunny Boy. It's something. It's definitely out there, but it's not one of my best of the season contenders. Yeah, what's one of the other ones that didn't make the cut for you, John?
I usually feel like we have a pretty decent order to our shows to go through, but this time my 3 are like, I kind of like them all for different reasons.
Okay.
Can we just put them all in first place? No, I can't. I know you won't let me, and I won't let me. That's not.
Yeah, I mean, we've cheated often enough in this segment, so at least we gotta adhere to that rules and not put, more than one show for ourselves, or for, each of us.
Yeah. So I really, really enjoyed the second season of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
So did I.
It was just, a great continuation of a whole bunch of dumb shenanigans, but also with, like we talked about, it had things to say about work-life balance and family issues and whatnot. So would I put it at the top? Maybe. Maybe on any other day when I think there's two other great contenders. But I think it stands on equal footing with them, though.
Follow your heart, John. That's all I can tell you.
You're right. You're right. So I really enjoyed Dragon Maid. I know you did too.
Yes.
I don't know if it's the top though this time.
Let's say I enjoy. It was Dragon Maid S was a perfect wind down show for me.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, hey, you watch it, you have a good time, you relax. It's not that much happening usually. It's just, it's fun. It's, like I said, shenanigans, and you laugh and you feel cozy, and you're just, you're relaxed. You're fine. You're pandemic good. And
also, apparently there's a game on the way, which is cool.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I enjoyed the show. I guess I missed some of the character work I got in season 1 between Toru and Kobayashi, because I thought that was kind of stronger in season 1 at the end, but then we got more focus on other characters in this season, which I liked. So it's fine. I don't know if I would rate one season over the other, and we already gave one Best of Season award to the first season of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. So
that's right.
That's why I wouldn't pick it for my Best of the Season list, but it's your choice for that.
It's a strong contender, though.
Absolutely, yes. Like you said, on any other day, it might have been.
So, I guess you can we'll let Dragon Maid stand on the podium at least this time.
Yes. What's not standing on the podium for me is Tokyo Revengers. It's a fun time travel story. It's dragged down by subpar production values, some issues I had with the idealization of the outlaw culture and the heavy censorship. It was like I said, fun time travel story, some cool characters in there, some really funny jokes. But overall, it's like, hey, compared to the other things we got, especially the other two that we haven't mentioned yet, this, can't hold a candle to them. So it was a very easy decision. It's a good show. It's an enjoyable show. Not as good as the other two.
So that leads us to the logical last two choices. The case study of Vanitas is a really solid, great show with, fun character moments, some really good action, just bones firing on all cylinders, and some awesome music. And it's pretty much a full package show.
Yes,
but
it's one of those this should be for everyone shows. It's one of those super accessible things, maybe minus for some prudish people the very, very, very horny vampires. But, aside from that, I would say this is and maybe some of the gore, I guess, but there's not too much in there of that, and the show is just briskly paced. There's enough plot happening. There's so many fun characters. I mean, Roland alone would merit this show being a contender for best of the season. But we also got Vanitas, we also got Noe, we also got Domi, we got John. There are so many cool characters in the show, and it's visually fantastic. Like you said, bones firing on all cylinders. So it's just a really fun romp that one of the shows that I'm looking forward to the most getting a second season. It's definitely in recent times, definitely Vanitas, where it's like, hey, I want to have this kind of good time again watching that show. And it's just, of course, this kind of also caters, to me directly because it's a fun alternate history thing. It's some detective shit. They're running around in Paris, steampunk Paris, which is cool. And it's just neat. It's just a neat fucking story, and it's just enjoyable through and through. So maybe some people say, there's not that much deep character development yet, and there's not enough meat to these bones, and I could see that, but also I would say, like, hey, there are enough setups here that make me think that there will be more of that down the line, and what we got already in this first season is so promising and also so well done that I'm not worried that we'll get more in from that part of the show in future seasons. So just, and even if we don't, it's such a fun time to be had by everyone, in my opinion. So, absolutely. It's Vanitas definitely is one of my contenders.
It's got it clearly, from what we looked up when we reviewed it, there's a lot of story to tell in this series. So hopefully, obviously we're getting the second season in, like, as of this recording, like 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks. So
Can't wait.
Oh Lord, it coming. And depending on, where it goes after that, maybe there'll be even more of it. Who knows? But we would be remiss in not letting To Your Eternity into this conversation as well.
I mean, we just talked about it, and that kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Well, how could we not also put this show up as a contender? Because it's fantastic. It's got everything that I want from an anime. Deeply human stories, but also great action, but also, great drama, and a really neat setting, a really neat setup, an unusual protagonist, some unusual mechanics to his power set even, which is a really weird thing to ask, I guess, of a show, but that it has that as well. Great music, great production values mostly, and it's really good. I mean, we already said everything we said in our review. Can't really add anything more to that. It's just a really, really good show. And unless you really, 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 really have a problem with watching sad content, then you should definitely check out this show. It's definitely an absolute highlight in this season, and that's why we kept it for last. And it's definitely for me, it's Vanitas or this one. And as always, for the previous seasons, we managed to whittle it down to 2 shows we both really liked, so we can pick both. I don't know really, I wouldn't even know which to pick. If I would pick Vanitas and John would pick To Your Eternity or vice versa. I don't know if you are leaning towards one of these two shows more strongly than to the other. I feel like it's a Sophie's Choice thing.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I like you said, I like each of these shows for different reasons, but kind of equally. And for you could also count Dragon Maid into this, but for me, Vanitas and To Your Eternity is on equal footing just for different reasons. I feel like Vanitas is a lot funnier, is a lot more lighter, breezier, entertaining, and To Your Eternity has a lot more meat to it and feels more substantial. It's not supposed to diminish Vanitas or anything.
Right.
Like I said, they're both equally good, just for different reasons, and equally enjoyable. So, yeah, absolutely. These are our 2 picks for best of the season this time around, and
it keeps happening.
It keeps happening. I'm glad it does.
Yeah.
You know, I sometimes felt bad when we were so dead set on a single best of the season thing. Where we like, no, it's gotta be this show. I think that was the case for the first season of Dragon Maid. I think we both picked that as our top of the season thing because we just loved it through and through, and it was like, yeah, this gotta be this, and and then you got a lot of other good shows as well. You're like, god damn it, and sometimes even 2 first spots aren't even enough, and some seasons where it's just fucking so fucking good.
I've gotten to this point in my life where I really feel like, and you can feel about things the way you want to, but I feel like picking a singular favorite of anything is just like, why are you limiting yourself so drastically? Like, there's so many other things. I know this is surprising to say, but y'all can hear me out. It's okay to have more than one favorite of something.
Exactly. Yes. I'm really bad at top 10 lists already.
Yes.
But naming top 1, when someone comes to me and is like, what's your favorite movie? And I'm like, do you have a day? Like, I can rattle them all off. It's going to take a while. Give me 24 hours. And it's just like, what are you even doing? Like, I can't, I envy, I guess, maybe I envy people, maybe I don't, who have just such a clear winner, but I couldn't. How do you even do that? There's so much, like you said, there's so much good content out there. There's so much good fucking stuff in all different aspects of media. I could never choose and pick my favorite movie. I could never choose and pick my favorite anime, my favorite comic book, my favorite game, my favorite music, my favorite book. Not possible. Book maybe? No, there are too many good Stephen King books. It's not possible. So, fuck it. No, that's not possible. So, yeah, I totally agree with you, John. It's just like, hey, the more the merrier. And I love to recommend shit I like to people. And, if they have time, I recommend a shitload of stuff to them. So,
man, that's like, okay. So I'm going to get into some weird territory here because John got into VTubers recently. Wow. And the girl that I watched the most had a stream that was like, submit and describe your favorite anime, and my mother will judge it based on that alone. So I was like, fuck.
I think you like that.
What do I choose? And a couple ideas went through my mind, but I was like, you know what? I gotta go with Sympho Gear. And and if this happens again, I know what the next choice will be. Just keep working down the list of all my big favorites until I'm like, I don't know what to pick after that.
Yeah, I wouldn't even. I would probably be too lazy to, create such a list, because like, okay, this has to go in there, and then I make the list, and then one day later I realize, oh fuck, why didn't I put that on there? And yeah, so
like, this year has been Jesus Christ, bleh. This year's been crazy.
That's what this year did to you.
This year's been crazy anime wise, because there's been a lot of new stuff that climbed the ladder real quick. Like, for instance, Odd Taxi jumped. There's a power gap for when Odd Taxi jumped onto the scene. Like, holy crap, dude! That shows. And
we're getting a movie.
Yes.
I mean, recompilation movie, but also apparently with a new ending. So, I mean, like I said, I love the ending of the TV show, but it will be interesting to see what the ending will be of the movie, and if that is then considered to be considered the definitive ending, or if they will do another thing which is like, hey, maybe that's not how it happened. So we'll see. I'm really looking forward to that. And man, yeah, like you said, there's so much good shit, and I'm sure next year there's gonna be a lot more stuff that we don't expect, that we don't even know of yet, that will hit really hard. And I can't wait to check it out together with you and together with our audience. And with that said, we bid you all farewell for the year of 2021, and we'll see you again, or talk to you again, I guess, in 2022. I don't know if the episode will come out in time, but let's just say Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah. Happy New Year. See you in 2022. Hopefully it's a better one.
Yeah, let's all hope for that. And that is a wrap on the 123rd episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in our show is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jack Kaufman. Please go to virt.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. Our show is available on most of the popular podcast services, but it's always worth visiting animebrainfreeze.com for our review index and more. Leave us comments and questions on YouTube, follow us on Twitter at AnyBrainFreeze, or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next episode. Macht's gut.
Take care, everybody. Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
Daring dad and daughter
Dungeoneering with their dangerous drills.